Hello guys, in this beginner friendly tutorial I'm going to show you how to spin up swing GUI in Java in 3 simple steps as I promised. So the first step is going to be set up the JFrame window, and then the second step will add the JPanel canvas. The third step we are going to add some shapes or lines to test it out. So you can see I just created a class, a graphic starter class, and then added the main method, and that's it. Before we move on, I want you to understand this concept. This is a screenshot of JFrame window, what it looks like. It has this control buttons here, the close, then maximize, then the minimize. We have our title here, so that is our JFrame window. And the next screenshot is having our JPanel. That's the container on which we are going to introduce our component or interactive component. Okay, that is what I want you to have in mind. So first need our JFrame, and then second we need our JPanel, which is the canvas on which we are going to introduce our components. To get started, we have to create a JFrame object, and then we call it window. Add our title, my first graphics window. Now we have our window. So to make our window visible, the method we use is a set visible and set it to true. And when you run the program, you can see now we have our GUI showing up here. Yes, it's my first graphics window, and because we did not set the dimension of the window, it shows up in the smallest form in which it can be. This is it. You can set some dimensions to it and say window.set size. You can pass a dimension object to it, so we say new dimension and pass 500 by 400, right? And restart the program, and you can now see that now our window is showing up in the set dimension, so 500 by 400. Okay, so you can see we are able to resize the window. If you don't want to resize the window, there is another method that we can use, set resizable, and we set it to false. It's going to prevent us from resizing our window. So you can see the cursor is not even turning into the double pointed arrow for it to be able to manipulate the size of the window. Okay, so let's look at another method, set location. Simply the default position of the window when it pops up. So right now it pops up in the top corner of our viewport, right? And that is the default position. Okay, so if we want to change the default position of the window, we can set it to start from 100 pixels from the left, that's on the x-axis, and then 50 pixels from the top, that's on the y-axis. Restart the program. You see now our window is popping up 100 pixels on the x-axis and 50 pixels on the y-axis. So we have a whole lot of methods to manipulate the window, but let's move on to taking a look at the second step. So that is adding a JPanel canvas, right? So let me quickly copy this and add it here. Okay, so to create our canvas, we need to understand what the JPanel is. The JPanel is like a container that holds the graphics and other components. So by extending our graphic starter class here by the JPanel class, we are going to inherit all the default methods of the JPanel class and also be able to define our custom methods and properties, right? So we are going to extend our class by the JPanel class. So now that we are inheriting from JPanel, it means we can now create our canvas. So the canvas type has to be of the type graphic starter, because we are inheriting from JPanel. The graphic starter is inheriting from JPanel, so it has to be of type graphic starter, and we create our canvas. So new graphic starter, right? Okay, so we have our canvas, and we also have methods for manipulating our canvas, like setting the background of the canvas. Set the background to be pink. So we set the background and we are passing the color. We can also set the preferred size, right? So set the size of the canvas to be, also take a dimensions object, so new dimensions, and we can also set it to, let's say, higher than our 600, higher than our window. So I'm just going to show you something that's going to happen real quick. So we've created our canvas, but our canvas is not set to our window. So when we still run our program, we are not going to see our window. We are not going to see our canvas on our window, because our canvas is supposed to have a pink background, and we don't see that here because our canvas is not on our window. So what we have to do is set the canvas on the window. So set content pane. So then we set our canvas onto it. So with this, we've successfully set our canvas onto our window. So now we can be able to draw, we now have a drawing surface. So you see, we have our pink background. Okay, so you see we set our canvas preferred size dimension to 800 by 600, but when we run the program, we only see the window size. So the window size set is constraining our canvas size set. So what we have to do to be able to use the canvas size is to comment this out and call the pack method. So call the pack method. So what this method does is it allows the window to set its size to the preferred size of the canvas. So now we see our window is now of the size 800 by 600. Good. So let's add one last line that is going to set our default close operation. So when we click on the close button, it means we are terminating our program. So we are done with step 2. Okay, so this is the last step. So we now have our canvas and we now want to draw some shapes on it. Our last step is going to be out of our main. We are going to override a method from the JPanel class that is going to enable us to be able to draw out shapes on our canvas. So we are going to call it's paint component and pass our graphics context to it. Okay, so now with our graphics context, we can now draw shapes onto our canvas. Let's use the graphics context, the GUI.drawRect. DrawRect takes 4 parameters, the X and the Y, that's the starting point, the origin of the rectangle, and the width and the height. So let's start it at 100 and then 50 and set the width to 100 by 50. Let's run our program. And as you can see, we have our rectangle drawn out here. Let's try drawing another shape. Draw oval. Also takes the same set of parameters. It's a 100. Okay, so when we increase the Y, let's say 150, then we run our program. Now we can see we have our rectangle here, and then we have our circle here. And I don't know if you can see this, but our circle is not smooth, a bit pixelated. So we can say set rendering hints dot key anti-aliasing, and also pass rendering hints dot value anti-alias on. So now when we rerun the program, you're going to see now our circle is a bit smoother than what we had previously. Okay, this is how to set up GUI in Swing in just 3 steps. Thank you for watching. Give this video a like and subscribe to get more educational content from me.